Well guys, welcome to this second session of the DSS. So here we'll see the impact of software patches on DSS maintainability. So hope just to refresh what we discussed in the last class. The last video we discussed about interfaces to a typical DSS. Okay, the whole maintainability of DSS is divided into two parts: supplier initiated, another one is owner initiated. And after that we discussed about the interfaces to a typical DSS, where ESAC and SAC are going to play a very important role, along with some important number of blocks surrounding the central DSS switching central office. Okay, remember that we discussed with respect to maintenance of one typical DSS CO common office. Okay, later we gone through the some of the concepts like patches and some other things. So let us refresh and once again we'll revise here what we exactly mean by software patches here. Software patches are nothing but a small small number of errors or bugs which are occurring during the execution of the programs. So as all of you know that the DSS operation cannot be hampered, and we know that it is a real-time system and we need to work it continuously. We cannot halt it and for the repair or bug fixing here. Okay, so that's why we have to fix the bug or modify the program without compiling the software or maybe hardware. Okay, so that is called patches. That's what is called a patch, or a temporary, you can say temporarily we are going to resolve the problem here. So the problem here is that in the olden days the people used to write the machine code. That's what is called micro coding, or you can say hardwired line coding. There I think we all know about that. In assembly language coding we are going to write the coding at each particular address. Okay, and normally it will happen that we are going to write the wrong code with the wrong address. So that should not occur. That will result into the errors. Okay, so that is not going to be compatible with the generic releases. So when we are going to apply the patches, so the good solution is that they are going to keep such kind of programs inherent to the software of the digital switches. That's why these are called embedded patcher groups. They will be residing inside the software which is coming with the digital switches and have minimized some of these problems. It is coming with the digital switching software itself. In the software itself, these embedded patcher programs will be there. So whenever such patching problems will arise, they will come to live and we'll try to fix it up without recompilation. That is important. Okay, so the next we can discuss today is the diagnostic capabilities of the proper maintenance of DSS. So what we mean by diagnostic capabilities? So effective diagnostic programs and well thought maintenance strategies play a very important role in the maintenance of DSS with reduced maintenance cost. So what we mean by effective diagnostic programs? So whenever the particular DSS digital switching system or particular digital switch will start malfunctioning, it should automatically identify its problem and it should automatically resolve it. It's something like manually we are doing, no, whenever we'll stuck up with our desktop system, what we'll do, we'll restart the system. But there DSS should automatically restart by itself. It should identify its problem, and if it will come out with the problem that it has got stuck up, then it should have to restart it. That is called initialization. Okay, so that's the effective diagnostic programs are required. Effective means it should occur only when the problem is there, otherwise not. Okay, and well thought maintenance strategies. So it should properly go through the procedural steps to confirm that the stucking of or operational malfunction is happening not by any of these simple reasons, by going through this some maintenance procedure. That is called well thought maintenance strategies. Okay, so the most of these COs will not stock large amounts of circuit packs. Okay, their maintenance is actually done by the circuit packs there. If you visit in here local exchange office in Bijapur, they will get lot of stacks of circuit packs will be there. They are going to take care of the many of the such diagnostic things. So because of the prohibitive cost, they are going to maintain the circuit pack. That is one reason. But we'll use centralized location where all types of spares are stored and maintained. That is one reason why we are going for the effective diagnostic program. Second feature of this diagnostic capabilities of any particular CO. Most of the COs are also remotely managed via switching circuit centers or electronic switching automatic centers, which require the digital switching systems, maintenance programs, support remote diagnostics, as well as provide high accuracy diagnostic results. So the summary of this one is that the COs will going to have the stock of large circuit packs, because in extra they are going to maintain. If one of the circuit packs will fail, another circuit pack is with them. So another one, they will remotely manage the maintenance operation with the help of SCC and GSACs with accurate diagnostic results. So the modern DSS are using smaller number of circuit packs. So the importance of proper diagnostic has not diminished. So the idea here is that even the DSS present modern DSS are maintaining a very small number of circuit packs, but doesn't mean that proper diagnostic we are not doing. Okay, that is the meaning. So diagnostic capabilities are now remotely, most of the time it is now what you can say, transferred from circuit packs to the devices itself. Okay, for example, the good thing is that because of single high density circuit pack affects many functionalities of digital switch. Most of the we can say the circuit pack is more intelligent. That itself is going to take up lot of responsibilities, and therefore it is clear in the overall evaluation that DSS, that diagnostic capability of switch be considered to be high importance. So let us see how the same thing we are now going to extend, how the same thing can be extended here. Diagnostic capabilities, we have said no, now DSS, modern DSS are going to maintain very small number of circuit packs. The one reason they quoted in the last slide is the capabilities of single circuit pack has been enhanced. Okay, now compared with its previous version, it is going to do lot of more functions. So another thing, even we can also transfer this more functionality or responsibility to some other things also, some other devices. So let us see what is that one in terms of firmware deployment. That's what is called firmware deployment. So here we are going to deploy the firmware things which are going to carry more responsibility as equally as your cards, line cards. The recent trend is towards distributed processing. Means we are not going to focus the whole responsibility of processing on one or at one point, like cards, circuit packs. Now it is also distributed to the end equipments like line terminating equipments or trunk terminating equipments. Okay, resulted in increased use of the firmware. In that case, we need the firmware there. Okay. So the most intelligent subsystems in DSS require resident non-volatile object code for this purpose, means for the booting purpose or bringing the system online after the loss of power or system failure. So these semiconductor memory types are called firmware devices. So here you can exactly understand what you mean by firmware devices. Okay. So the thing is that he is not talking now about circuit packs. He is now talking about firmware devices, where the good example you can see here. For example, just now I want to quote an example here. This is not here. He is telling resident non-volatile object code, means it is not affected by the supply of the power, on and off of the power. That what we mean by non-volatile. Okay, for the purpose of booting, rebooting, whenever the system will malfunction. For example, a good example I just want to revise here for you people to understand this sentence, particularly this sentence. Okay, nowadays circuit pack functionality is increased. The same responsibilities also got increased with the line cards. I told no, line terminating equipment means each subscriber line is terminating with one terminating equipment, that is called line card. Similarly, trunk card will be there. Okay. So what this line card will contain? Now line card responsibility has increased. Okay. Like now previously compared, now line card is also going to do most of the parts of supervisory operation. It will authenticate the call request is a genuine one. It is not happening because of the line fault. It will test the line fault. It will what you can say map the subscriber direct number to the terminating equipment number, and also it will look into the table for that purpose into the kept in the NCP in the second level control of the DSS architecture. Like that, the functionalities or responsibilities of the line card now increased, or you can say the line card now became more intelligent. Okay, for that purpose we need firmware. Line card, it requires the firmware, means we need the object code to be resident, means it to be there and non-volatile. It is not affected by the power supply. Even the power supply will be gone, it will automatically reboot. Understanding? Such kind of things which are going to support our increased functionality or increased intelligence of line cards are known as firmware devices with their non-volatile object codes. Okay, it is nothing but executable code or data stored in semiconductor memory on quasi-permanent basis. Quasi-permanent means it is not affected by the power failure and require physical replacement or manual intervention with external equipment for updating. So guys, here you can see the more accurate definition for firmware you are observing here. Okay. So the increased embedded firmware support, what is the impact of this on DSS? With the trend towards distributed architecture, just now I told, from line circuit packs to line cards we came here. In DSS, the use of microprocessor and controllers embedded throughout the system has increased. Because of this, now today you will see 20 to 30% of their code is embedded in the firmware because of this reason. So some digital cross-connect systems and subscriber carrier systems have 100% of their program coded in embedded in the firmware itself. So the idea here is that power consumption is a lot of saved, and most of the thing it is got automated. Okay, so most present day switches use many call processing functions on the line cards. You can just now I discussing on line cards, and these line cards can perform many switching functions by themselves. I don't know, they can do call detecting originations, terminations, translation, service circuit access control, means they will also decide whether the particular call request the calling person has a special service allocated to him or not. Then if yes, it will attach the service circuits, etc. So most programs which provide these functions are firmware based. Just we discussed about that. So therefore the many vendors choose this arrangement as firmware based programs require no backup magnetic media. This is another important feature, and provide local recovery of line service with minimum manual intervention. Backup is not required and power failure is not affected. So these two are important criteria for which are focusing or pushing us to move towards the firmware technology. Okay. So let us see what next we have to discuss. Next is a semi-permanent code storage aspect of firmware provides. There is a quasi-permanent, now it is a semi-permanent. Provides necessary function that requires physical replacement or manual intervention with the external equipment for updating. So this guys here you have to understand the sentence here. It requires physical replacement. If there is any hardware part is required to be replaced, physically we have to replace it, or manual intervention, manually we have to do it with the external equipment for updating. Semi-permanent, that's why it requires 50% physical intervention and 50% automatically it is done by firmware. Okay, so during the updating process, the switching system controllers may be required to operate in the simplex mode. Okay, so the operating process for firmware can have a significant impact on the operational reliability of system, specifically if a firmware changes are frequent. Okay, so if the more updations or upgradations are required in digital switch, then firmwares are going to play a very critical role here without affecting the real-time operation of the digital switch. So this is what the impact we can say on the real-time operation of the DSS of having the what we can say firmware deployment. Remember guys, So far we discussed about the firmware deployment, which is nothing but an extension of the what you can say patches. Patches extension is firmware deployment we discussed. Okay. So next we can discuss how to couple or connect these firmware and software coupling here. So now with the development of firmwares, DSS has realized that most of the things are getting moving towards the firmware. Okay. So how do we have to reconnect between the firmware packs along with our software with the new release of software updates? Okay. So the problem we got here is that why there is a difficulty in coupling these two. The one reason is increased simplex times for switches during the firmware update process. Okay. So one-sided or one-direction oriented firmware updates are required many times. That is called simplex times, which are more in number. Another one is increased switch downtimes due to system faults. Switch downtimes means before the conversation will occur, the switching function will be halted while in simplex mode. Okay. Which required initializations for firmware changes, insertion of defective firmware circuit packs. So which requires these things. So that's why we have got the problem with coupling the firmware with the software. So next problem is increased maintenance problems due to procedural errors and delay in the upgrade process because of shortages of correct versions of firmware packs. For example, good example here is that for you to understand, you update, for example, one software, you download it. Okay. So when you start installing it, it will ask you to update one of the packages. Okay. Means in order to install any particular thing, it needs some of the things to be updated versions. If they are not there, shortage of correct versions are not there, then this might be the problem. So increased incompatibility problems between firmware and operational software, because firmware is a little bit it is going to deal with interfacing of hardwares, so that incompatibility is there, the pure software with the firmware. So measure of coupling between firmware and software, that is the ratio of firmware circuit packs, means which are changed in along with generic or major software change to the ratio of firmware circuit packs to the total number of firmware circuit packs in the system is nothing but measure of coupling. Measure of coupling nothing but there is the ratio of firmware circuit packs to the total number of firmware circuit packs in the system. That is called measure of coupling. So the low ratio means it will indicate loosely coupling between firmware and software, and high ratio it will indicate tight coupling. Okay. So we'll now stop here, guys.